So I didn't think much would happen at Comic-Con this time, so we went to visit with friends. Good thing I brought a tripod with me. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and in Comic-Con the news is exploding about everything that CBS All Access is doing coming this fall in science fiction. We have news on Discovery, we have news on Lower Decks, and especially we have news about Star Trek Picard. And we'll talk just briefly about Lower Decks right now. Later we'll do something more complete. But what we know about it so far is the animation is very impressive. It will take place during the Next Generation phase, and it will be about 4 ensigns, one who's been demoted 2 or 3 times on a starship otherwise not mentioned. However, we'll have a complete crew on that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go direct to Picard now. And in the Picard show, we have found out much more than we expected. First of all, we have some inkling of how long that Picard was in the winery. He had left Starfleet from a problem that had happened before 15 years back, but had actually only been back at the family vineyards for about 2 years. And in the preview video, which I'll have linked down in the comments, we have a visit from 7 of 9 from Voyager, who comes in and says, "Picard, what are you doing here?" And apparently the plot is going to go around a central character who has a mysterious background, but who comes to Picard for help. Picard goes to Starfleet, and apparently Starfleet isn't so interested in it at all. And so what we see is that he's put together a crew, apparently with help from the Vulcans, and has a rather cavernous looking, non-Starfleet looking ship. So you'll see all of that in the trailer for the series. So these are the things that we know so far. Later, after the preview was done at Comic-Con, on stage comes Brent Spiner and Jerry Ryan. We already know from the trailer video that Jerry Ryan is going to be in it, but we found out also that at the very last few frames of it, that Brent Spiner as Data shows up. And so we know that they're both going to be in it. They both came out on stage, and after a few jokes, talked about their interest in being part of it, and also that Jonathan Frakes as Riker will not only direct, but also be in some of the episodes. So will Marina Sirtis. Add that to what we heard last week, that LeVar Burton was saying that he expected that most of the crew would be on that show, but just not all at once. And while he did not make anything directly saying that anyone had asked him, I believe that that was probably as much as he could say at the time. And so we're liable to see a great deal of the TNG crew. We also will see the Borg Hugh, the Borg experience that Picard has had, figures into this. Now, in the panel where they're speaking with Patrick Stewart and Michael Chabon, who is the showrunner, and he was the writer of Calypso short trek in last summer. We know, first of all, that the last short trek of the 4 that they're doing this season will be a catch-up on what Picard was doing in the last 20 years. And will get us ready for that series, which will be premiering in early 2020, probably January. Anyway, they were talking about how the writing went on this, and Siobhan said that basically Patrick was consulted about everything, almost line by line of his part, to make sure that they had the Picard character right. So that's what we know so far, and we'd like to know what you found out, what you think about all of this and how excited you are in seeing this show. So why not go down and subscribe if you haven't done so. Also, leave something in the comments and let us know what you're thinking. And in the meantime, when we will come back and talk to you about some of the other things we found out at Comic-Con, don't go far.